the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
You are Locked On Cardinals, your daily Arizona Cardinals podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Rise up, Red Sea. It's an incredible day here in the Valley of the Sun. You've got the Arizona Cardinals taking the practice field, their first official practice of 2021 training camp. Everybody rejoice. It's officially Cardinal season, and I'm spelling that SZN, right? Are we good with that? How the kids
Not
are doing
really.
it today? Bo, Brack, Alex Clancy. Follow the show on Twitter at Locked On AZ Cards, at BOBRACK, and at Clancy's Corner. And also, I got to tell you about this incredible event that we're doing on the Locked On Network. Just like we hooked you up with all the info you needed for the NFL draft, we've got the live NBA draft show, NBA draft GOAT Chad Ford, Locked On NBA draft host Rafael Barlow, and the Locked On NBA host Jonathan Corrales with live coverage of the NBA draft Thursday night. It's the Locked On NBA draft 2021, brought to you by, of course, the best tasting protein bar, Built Bar. Get the local expert analysis on each and every pick. Follow Locked On NBA on YouTube today. Watch their live coverage July 29th at 7 Eastern, 4 Pacific. I used to this is me being just fully transparent. I used to be NBA draft over NFL draft back in the day. It used to be, I remember coming home from the pool and turning on the NBA draft and watching all the college guys that I used to watch get drafted in the NBA.
Yeah, same. That's when, college players would play more than 15 minutes. You get some sort of name recognition, get some sort of, favorite players that play more than 30 games in college and in college basketball for sure.
Yeah, it's the first draft I remember really tuning into was I think it was like 96 or 97. It was the Vince Carter, Antoine Jameson. They got swapped for each other. Number 1 overall pick. Do you know who it was?
Wait, what year was it?
I think it was 96, 97. It was the year that Vinsanity and Antoine Jameson went in the top 5.
Is that the Olowokandi draft?
It was the Candy Man. It was the Clippers taking Michael Olowokandi.
UOP.
Number 1 overall out of Pacific. All right, that's enough NBA talk. Let's get into this. Let's get into the show. It was a little bit of a Drod Powers bomb last night. It wasn't a Woj bomb. It was a Drod Powers bomb last night on Twitter. The Dolphins reportedly made a trade offer to the Arizona Cardinals, including their ball-hawking cornerback Xavien Howard. We'll get into the details on that. And we'll revisit it. Maybe the Cardinals should as well. Latest on Larry Fitzgerald. For the first time since 2004, this late and this close to the NFL season, Larry Fitzgerald is not under contract with the Arizona Cardinals. We'll get into what the Cliff Kingsbury had to say about Larry Legend, and then Chase Edmonds, the RB1 situation. Oh, man. Could Chase Edmonds, could he have a monster season? It's fun to think about. It would transform the Arizona Cardinals offense. And we'll get into some tidbits. Actually, some news and notes right now from training camp yesterday. So it was Chandler Jones and it was Jordan Hicks, Alex, showing up and reporting to camp yesterday. They participated in the little just run drill that they do each and every year. Make sure guys are at least in a baseline shape to start camp. Everybody's good to go. The one, Sean Williams, the safety that they signed from the Cincinnati Bengals, is on the NFL non-injury reserve list. So, you can kind of come to your own conclusions on why that might be this day and age. So Sean Williams will not start practice today. But other than that, for the most part, some quotes we'll get into. But without a hitch yesterday, it sounds like Cardinals are ready to go.
Yeah. Good on Jordan Hicks for showing up. It's like, hey, Jordan, a 21-year-old is going to take your spot even though he's never played in the NFL before. So chew on that. You can look for somewhere else to go play if you want, but that's what's going to happen. Good on him for showing up in the leadership role that he has, still part of the organization. Good on him. I don't think that there was ever a question that Chandler Jones was going to hold out. The report was from earlier in training camp, or earlier this offseason. It wasn't from yesterday that Chandler Jones requested a trade. Who knows exactly the confines of, how that happened, in what words that happened through. Good on him for showing up. We expect him to play a full season, and if he plays really well, maybe he'll play and retire an Arizona Cardinal. But, we've got a lot of things to talk about before that happens.
I'll tell you what K2, Cliff Kingsbury, had to say about Chandler Jones, but it's pretty much been echoing what you and I have said about the Chandler Jones situation. Is it's just business. It's just business as usual. It's a Hail Mary attempt of getting an extension done. And I wouldn't, it's different than the Xavien Howard situation because we have him officially requesting a trade out of Miami, and he's locked up for a couple seasons. Where Chandler Jones, if he has a good year, he can go secure the bag one last time, get that. He's going to negotiate a new contract in 2022, the offseason, no matter what.
Let me ask you a question about that, about the Xavien Howard thing. What were your first thoughts on? He wrote his diatribe. It was eloquently written. He's like, you know what? I'm a professional. I'm going to show up, but get me out of here. Is that kind of talking out of both sides of your mouth, number one? And number two, I would assume it's not. I mean, this is the new age of the athlete where there's player empowerment more than ever, especially in the NFL, where it was the shield first. Give me your jersey if you're not on board with the NFL rules and team rules. We're not there anymore, but like with Jamal Adams, okay? Jamal Adams was throwing a hissy fit compared to what Xavien Howard has done. Xavien Howard had already gotten paid, so it's a little bit different of a situation. But if your other team's looking at Xavien Howard, reading what he wrote that got put out on Twitter and elsewhere yesterday, do you see that as a man who is unhappy, who can be worked with in a different situation? Or do you see him as a guy, well, if it's starting this early and he's getting paid this much, this is just the first hurdle you're going to have to deal with if you acquire this guy?
I think with each player, it's different circumstances, different variables going into it. Like Chandler Jones signed his deal. It was a very lucrative deal. He's in the final year of his deal. He's at his age, 31 years old. Same thing went for Patrick Peterson last season, who had more comments. But we're over that. We're past that. As far as Xavien Howard, I think that he has a true bone to pick, because not only is he underpaid at his position, and not his contract, it doesn't stack up against the rest of the best cornerbacks in the league, or the highest paid cornerbacks in the league. And not only does that stretch, league wide, it doesn't even get out of his own locker room. He's the best corner in that locker room, and he's not being paid like it with Byron Jones, who signed a deal to come over to Miami from Dallas last offseason. So I think that he deserves to at least renegotiate, and I think you can find something out. It's just a little bump to show him the respect, and I think that that's fine. He said during that, as far as his little message, his statement, I don't feel valued, and that's fine. That's fair. But I think it's a completely different situation, that not all are equal, right? Not all these contracts are equal. So I think that he has a legitimate gripe. And, some interesting news came out yesterday that the Miami Dolphins offered Xavien Howard in a trade package to the Arizona Cardinals. What they wanted in return, we'll tell you the report. It's coming up here. It's Locked On Cardinals. It's Bo Brock. It's Alex Clancy. Oh, man, Cardinals start practice today. It's an exciting day here in the Valley of the Sun. Congratulations, we made it this far. So I was checking out the Olympics last night. I've been tuning in each every night, right? I mean, it's just great white noise, or I'm locked in and I'm pretty much criticizing athletes in a sport that I started watching like 20 minutes ago. I'm the ultimate armchair quarterback for the Olympics. But did you know that as far as Built Bar is the official protein bar of the U.S. track and field team, when they hit the track, they are going to be fueled by Built Bar, the best tasting protein bar on the market. Did you know Built Bar has so many delicious flavors? You got to figure out which one is your favorite. Coconut, cherry barcia, raspberry, mint brownie, double chocolate, salted caramel. And for the summer, for a limited time, you can get strawberry and orange. Do you know what my favorite flavor is, Alex?
Salted caramel, bro.
Yeah, I go chalk. I do. It's a delicious, sweet and salty. It's tough to beat. And the protein bar is equally healthy as it is delicious. 17 to 18 grams of muscle packing protein, calories between 130 and 180, 4 to 5 grams of sugar, 4 to 5 grams of net carbs. Amazing flavors, all tasty, all healthy. Go to built.com. Use the promo code LOCKED15. Locked15. You'll get 15% off your order. Use the promo code LOCKED15 for 15% off at builtbar.com or built.com. Either works for you. All right, let's get back into this. So this hit our Twitter timeline yesterday. Pro Football Focus putting it out there. This wasn't them just like spitballing, Alex. Xavien Howard. He comes to the Cardinals. The Dolphins receive Chandler Jones and a 5th-round pick. Who says no? And okay, we see this, and okay, Brad Spielberger. I'm not familiar with him, but he's just coming up with a trade scenario that would work for both teams. And then we see, if you look at the replies, former Arizona Cardinals no-fly zone member, defensive secondary member Gerard Powers said Miami actually offered this trade earlier this year, and the Cards turned it down.
If you were to ask the first question, I would say that the Dolphins would turn that down. But then what came out yesterday with the words from Xavien Howard kind of makes more sense that the Dolphins would offer this. Let's just take a second. We didn't get here just through osmosis. We got here because Steve Keim drafted Zaven Collins at 16 overall. If you draft Caleb Farley, if you draft Greg Newsome, if you fill that hole that the Cardinals have at cornerback, this isn't even a conversation. Is that fair to say? Because you have your future plan at least in place. You have your theory. Chandler Jones is going to still be unhappy, but you don't have this conversation. And the fact that we have it now and the fact that the Cardinals turned it down, just because you see a shiny object on a different organization, you kind of get quote unquote comfortable or bored, whatever, with the players you have, especially when Chandler Jones was out for the majority of the year last year, which is unfair to him. It's just human response. I don't know if this would be the right move for the Cardinals, just because this is where the dominoes have fallen up to this point. Does that make sense? Like, just because Chandler Jones has said he wants out and Xavien Howard wants out. Xavien Howard had 10 picks last year. He's on a different team. The Cardinals need a cornerback. Doesn't mean that you need to dump a bunch of money into a corner who's had one good year and one all-pro year.
Well, come on. He had 7 picks in a previous season as well. I mean, that's just, he's a ball hawking corner.
But he's a part of one of the best defenses in the NFL.
That hasn't always been the case in Miami. I mean, last year they started to really turn things around. Yeah. They started to turn things around the first season under Brian Flores. But what Xavien Howard, I'm not going to discount what Xavien Howard's done. I think he would be absolutely one of a piece that the Arizona Cardinals haven't had in their locker room for a long time. A ball hawking cornerback. I've put it out there before. I mean, only the Detroit Lions have less interceptions since 2018 than the Arizona Cardinals defensive secondary, or just as a team. They don't force turnovers in the air, and Xavien Howard would help change that. But I thought Jody Ayler, our former colleague, made a good point that even if they don't go cornerback, if they address the pass rush in the draft, and there were the 2 top pass rush prospects available, either in Kwity Paye and Jalen Phillips out of Miami, that they could pull this deal off too. You would have J.J. Watt and a rookie pass rusher, and then you would add Xavien Howard to the defensive secondary. That's a pretty good-looking defense. Yeah. In every scenario, I think the Arizona Cardinals defense is in a good spot. I don't think that there's a reality where you can have both Chandler Jones and Xavien Howard in the same defense at this point. That ship has sailed. But, there's the Gerard Powers. Sorry, that's my old tweet. Gerard Powers saying that they offered this trade and they turned it down. Seeing Xavien Howard's comments yesterday, can you renegotiate? Can you get something back in return from Miami? So can you get a pick in return? Could you trade Chandler Jones in a 5th? And maybe get Xavien Howard in a 6th. Would you do that deal?
I don't think the picks that late matter, honestly. I don't think it's a sweetener that's like, you know what? We know that this is going to take a reconstructed contract to get him here. You have Kyler Murray coming up after next season. Then you have Xavien Howard, Budda Baker, DeAndre Hopkins, and Kyler Murray, all making a boatload of money. How can you build a team out like that? And sure, salary cap's a lie. You can have people that, you can always make it work. Thank you, right. Aaron Freeman, Locked On Falcons. But it seems like as a final piece, this would make sense. But as a piece that you're going to overpay a corner, not overpay, you're going to pay him probably his worth, however you want to say it. I don't know if the Cardinals are in a spot to be able to pull this off and fill out a roster around him. Now, if you want to trade Xavien Howard and give up a 1st-round pick for next year, I'd much rather do that because you know what you're getting from for a position of need and not have to play let's see if we can get somebody at 23 or 24 in the draft.
No way.
I would much rather do that.
No
Why?
way. Because I would trade an aging pass rusher in the final year of his deal. And you could keep your first round pick and you would get Xavien Howard. You could restructure him. You give him a new contract, make him happy, make the cap number make sense. And then you go, and then you could get another pass rusher in the draft in the first round. You can find a guy that late to get after the quarterback. I think, look, it's really a fascinating, just the thing that is telling with this, that the Cardinals turned this down, is something that most of the fan base, you and I are trying to grasp, is that the Arizona Cardinals, Steve Keim, Vance Joseph, are content with their defensive secondary with Malcolm Butler. They must be really high on Byron Murphy. They must think he's going to take a giant leap.
Or Steve Alford. I mean, this could just be the ego of Steve Keim. We signed him. And also, listen to this. Steven Nelson.
Indiana. He was a former college. Robert Alford.
Listen, Steve Alford is a great coach. He could probably transition over.
No, he's not.
Robert Alford. And Steven Nelson signed 1 year, $4 million.
Yeah.
With a different organization. Okay. So obviously you're right. I mean, that was the first. It's like, okay, well, everybody signed. They could have signed Logan Ryan last year to a small deal like New York did. Like, they could have done so many things to bolster this. And you're right. This is a mixture of Steve Keim's ego and delusion that makes him think that this cornerback room is going to work. I mean, maybe it will. Maybe we'll be wrong. Right. Maybe Byron Murphy will come in. Maybe Tay Gowan and Marco Wilson will revolutionize the cornerback room for the Cardinals in their first season. Just haven't seen it.
What's more appealing to you?
Not
JJ
this?
Watt? Well,
okay.
Chandler Jones and JJ Watt getting after the quarterback.
Yeah.
Or a defensive secondary that features Xavien Howard, Malcolm Butler, Byron Murphy, and Budda Baker.
Probably pass rush. And let me tell you why.
Offenses are appealing to the Cardinals. I think
it seems like it. Obviously, the NFL favors offenses now. Okay. So sure, you could have the best secondary in football. You're still going to give up 25 points a game at times. Like, we're a long ways away from Bears teams being able to put up 12 points and winning 12-6. Like, I'd much rather, like, you can mask more with a good pass rush than you can with a good secondary and almost no pass rush. Because it doesn't matter how good the corners are. If the quarterback's not getting pressure on him, no defensive human will be able to hold an offensive guy for 5 seconds without that guy finding space to get open. It's just not going to happen.
No, it's not. I mean, have we ever seen a corner go number 1 overall? I don't know if we have. We have certainly seen a pass rusher. I mean, as far as valued positions and premier positions, I think that pass rush actually gets the edge just because of what they can do. Because when you get after a quarterback and you get him off his spot, they become most of the league becomes pedestrian to below average. Yeah. It's just, you make Matthew Stafford, if you rush him out of the pocket and you make him throw off 1 foot, he becomes he's not a very good quarterback. He's not. We saw it in the desert, for so many years. Carson Palmer, when he has time, lethal. When he's off his spot, not very good.
Not as much.
It's Locked On Cardinals, part of your Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. In the comments, let us know. Will you pull off the deal? Would you pull off the deal? Like this video as well. We appreciate anything you guys can do for us. It's Bo, it's Alex. Coming up, some quotes from training camp yesterday as the Cardinals reported, their vets reported, they did their conditioning drill yesterday. Some insights on Larry Fitzgerald and Chase Edmonds, RB1. What's the ceiling there? We're going to get you excited about the Cardinals' 4th-year running back. It's Locked On Cardinals. Let me tell you about Bet Online. Your online sportsbook experts, they're hooking you up with the fastest, easiest way to get action. Major League Baseball is in full swing. There are a couple of teams that you could ride to build your stack for the NFL season coming up. I mean, you can get in on some exhibition games next week, some preseason action. You've got the Hall of Fame game, Dallas and Pittsburgh. Right now, it's a 1-point game. The total's pretty low. You're going to tune into that game, and then unless you have action, you're probably going to lose interest. So it might be the best thing for you. BetOnline.ag, not only do they have all the odds, You can also get some great sign-up bonuses. They've got all the news and information that you want. It's a one-stop shop for every sports fan. Right now, if you go and you sign up, you'll get a sign-up bonus. It's 50%. So if you put in $50, you'll get $25 to play around with. That's not yours. And then you can make it yours. Everything you win with that $25 goes in your account. Bet Online, your online sportsbook experts. All right, so for the first time since 2004, since Larry Fitzgerald, who held out until the first day of practice, he missed practice because he was signing his name to his first NFL contract, August 2nd, 2004. It was before, slotted deals. Larry Fitzgerald was making a ton of money coming into the league. I think he made more than Eli Manning for that deal. Larry Fitzgerald, I might have misspoke. Sorry, but Larry Fitzgerald, this is what the world looked like when Larry Fitzgerald, the last time he wasn't in camp. JoJo was the number one song. The Born Supremacy was the number one movie. And then Kyler Murray was just days away from his 7th birthday. That's what the world looked like, Alex. I was shocked that the Born Supremacy was 2004. I thought that was a little bit more recent. Wasn't that like the 3rd installment?
I think so. And I was 6 weeks away from my 21st birthday.
Oh, man.
Wow. So it was a beautiful time. I'll tell you what.
It was a beautiful time. Different times. Cliff Kingsbury spoke about Larry Fitzgerald.
Born Supremacy, the Born trilogy, super underrated.
Oh.
Like I don't understand. Like that put Matt Damon from Good Will Hunting to whatever hell he wants to do after that. Like that was incredible.
Matt Damon could kick ass. He did. It was unbelievable.
Oh,
and I think of the series, the Born Supremacy is actually my favorite.
Interesting. Is that? Oh, that's the second one. That's the Julia Stiles one. Yeah, that's a good one.
That's the you need to get some sleep, where he's in the building across the way, isn't it?
Yeah.
Isn't that when he drops that little chestnut? Oh, that's unbelievable. Great cinema.
I'm just pretending I know. Yeah.
Born Supremacy. All right, back to the Cardinals. Cliff Kingsbury said that the ball's in Larry Fitzgerald's court. We feel like, quote, we feel like we got a great depth in the group regardless. We'll have to plan here either way. Talking about Larry Fitzgerald. This is going to be one of those things that, we could be talking about this in October.
Really? You think?
Yeah.
Well, because Larry Fitzgerald is a practice warrior and a training camp warrior. Like he'll take his veteran days like everybody else. I'm sure he gets more than everybody else. But the dude is known for being the hardest practicer in Arizona Cardinals history, let alone one of the most in NFL history. So I don't think he's going to skip any sort of time, in my opinion. If he's going to come back, it's going to be before the season starts.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, it's Larry Fitzgerald at one point said, hey, when I retire, there's not going to be any tears and there's not going to be any podium.
Right.
That's how it's going to be. So he could quietly just disappear. But at the same time, as I pointed out, he's made over $180 million in his career. That's the most for a non-quarterback. And anything he signs, even if it's the vet minimum, adds to his record and it's adding to his millions. And he's not going to turn his nose up on it. And if he gets to miss a couple practices and come in a little bit fresh and get an opportunity to continue to push his consecutive game streak with a catch, I think he'll do it.
Yeah. That's fair. Maybe like there's one thing like that just kind of sheds light that people don't really like talking about because it's not a negative by any stretch. But Larry Fitzgerald has stayed with the Cardinals because he loves the Cardinals. Also because they've paid him probably the most money he could have made anywhere else. That money is insane. I think he was the first receiver or the second receiver. I'm not sure where Calvin Johnson got it to get a $100 million contract. Like Larry Fitzgerald has been paid supremely handsomely to be an Arizona Cardinal.
Yeah.
Yes, he loves the Cardinals. Yes, there's no question about that he loves where he is and everything he says in interviews and everything is true. And they've probably paid him more than he would have gotten elsewhere, at least over the last 3 seasons.
Other news from yesterday, Chase Edmonds, he spoke with the media and he said that he bulked up this offseason and then he started to kind of lean out as he prepares for his 17-game stretch here for the Arizona Cardinals as they add a game with the rest of the NFL. He's about 205. And I think I was a little surprised to see that Chase Edmonds last year, his Pro Football Reference, his player bio had him at 210. So he's down 5 pounds. Chase Edmonds ready for RB1 status, even though he says he doesn't like, to be known as RB1. I think you'd be surprised. Like, a lot of people think that Chase Edmonds is undersized. He's a non-traditional running back as far as his build. But if you look across the league, if you look across just maybe the rushing yard leaders, Chase Edmonds, who's 5'9", 205 now, he's right there with Aaron Jones, who is 5'9", 208. Dalvin Cook's 5'10", 210. Alvin Kamara, 5'10", 215. James Robinson, who you think of kind of more of like a bruiser, he's 5'9", 219. And then you've got Miles Sanders, who you think of more of a slight, speedy back, 5'11", 215. So he's right in that realm.
Yeah, 10 pounds is a lot. It's a big difference. But the Aaron Rodgers and Dalvin Cook are like the perfect running backs. Aaron Jones. Who did I say? Aaron Rodgers? Jesus. They're like the perfect running backs now. I mean, they can run inside, they've got the speed to be outside, and they can run over a cornerback. You know, and that's with Chase Edmonds, we just haven't seen it. It's not to say that he can't. He's gotten opportunities. We just haven't seen it. And I don't know if it's run scheme. I don't know if we just see the supreme pass catcher that he is out of the backfield, and we kind of try to compare that to his rushing ability, getting handed the ball off to him. We just haven't seen the full package from him yet. That's not to say that he can't do it. We have seen it in spurts. I mean, between the Green Bay game his rookie year and the New York game 2 years ago, he had 5 touchdown rushes. All of them were over 20 yards. So we've seen it from him, but just not in the, okay, this is your team now. If you want it to be from the running back position, go do it.
Yeah, it was Jason Moore who threw out the wild stat, and I encourage you to go check out that YouTube video where Jason Moore of the Fantasy Footballers joined us, and Chase Edmonds has 1 carry within the 5-yard line, with the 5-yard line in his entire career. So it's not something that we're accustomed to seeing from him. But look, as I said, his size, it's not going to hold him back. It's got to get you excited, though. Under Cliff Kingsbury in 2 seasons, you've got Chase Edmonds rushing for 4.8 yards per carry. And then you talk about his ability to catch the football. He said his secondary focus this offseason was catching the football. So if he can get better in that, running routes and catching the ball, and we had mentioned how good he was within the red zone. He caught, I think, 10 of 11 targets from Kyler Murray. I mean, could Chase Edmonds be a monster?
Listen, I mean, surprises happen all the time. Like, I hate that. That sounds so dumb and cliche and filler. It would be awesome because the Cardinals' offensive scheme is not relying upon that to happen. You're hoping to get similar output that you got from the Cardinals running back room from last year with James Conner and Chase Edmonds. If Chase Edmonds takes that leap, it'll make everybody's job easier. Every single person, skill position wise on offense, it'll just make their job easier because stacking 8 in the box would have to come into the equation for opposing defenses, which it's not even close to it unless, I mean, it's more just spying Kyler Murray and his ability to run the ball. It's not actually Chase Edmonds out of the backfield being an actual threat to opposing defensive schemes from other teams.
Yeah, let us know who you think should be RB1 because we're talking about Chase Edmonds like James Conner isn't even on this roster right now. And that was a big addition during the offseason. Chase Edmonds RB1, James Conner RB1. I think we should just, as far as position battles go, between now and the start of the regular season, you and I just need to have a throwdown as far as all of those. I mean, when you talk about Jordan Hicks and Xavien Collins and the linebacking core, the defensive secondary, the wide receiver 2 position, it's a great debate to have. We're going to have all of them right here. Locked on Cardinals. Throwdown Thursday. We'll have that. Plus, The Athletic released its quarterback tiers. Where Kyler Murray stacks up, we'll let you know on that. Plus, all the latest news and notes from Arizona Cardinals training camp as they'll hit the practice field today. Of course, keep it locked to the Locked On AZ Cards Twitter account for all that information. And, of course, at Clancy's Corner for Alex and at BOBRACK for me, Bo Brock. Mash that like button on the YouTube video. We appreciate it. Check out our Patrick Peterson videos. Did you know he's delusional? We explained why in yesterday's video. The Chandler Jones saga. The Monday video is still something that I think you should watch. All right. Well, you guys have a great rest of your Wednesday. We'll talk to you on Thursday. It's Locked On Cardinals, part of your Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.